And today we're reacting to It's Welcome to Derry, Racism is Fear Managed by Media Munchies. Now, I'll be honest with you, I didn't actually watch It's Welcome to Derry. If I'm saying it right, I'm not quite sure. Because, dog, after the first eat, or maybe like the second eat, yeah, after the second eat, I was like, okay, it's cool. I didn't feel much from the series anymore, but you know what? Let's see what's going on in this video. Maybe it might make me come back to it. So, without further ado, I flopped the game. Snap.
Well, back in the wagon for Willie boy. Gotta keep him nice and fresh.
Listen, please.
Dog meat tastes twice as.
I love Welcome to Derry, and honestly, a big reason is because it's black. Black as no, not just because there's black characters on screen, but because the show actually understands how fears work with people of color in America, how it's created, how it's redirected, and definitely how it's used. Anyone who tells you racism isn't fear is lying. Full stop. Racism is fear, with the costume on. And if we're talking about costumes, we need to talk about spectacle.
Racism is mostly fear mongering, because people might say, well, it's usually the people that are being accused, right? In this situation, black people. But you gotta understand, for normal people, don't forget, because most racist people are not really normal in my opinion, like upstairs, right? But for normal people to even accept that as a idea or as a regime, you need to scare them. You need to scare them to the point where they won't even try to understand the other side. Twitter does this very well, where you'd find many tweets about Africans or immigrants doing certain things, and then instead of actually sitting down and looking at immigrants and seeing, okay, wait, is it really an immigrant? And if it is an immigrant, is this person a criminal, or is just how all the immigrants act? But usually it's just like certain, yeah, this is what they do, to create fear from both sides, right? Because now the immigrants are scared to be around the people that you know what I'm saying, that are what do you call it? Not immigrants, and the not immigrants are scared to even approach the immigrants. You know what I'm saying? Again, this doesn't really affect people that live next to these type of people, but it affects the people that don't live around them, but they keep on hearing these propaganda and this news about bad-ish. Yeah, okay, that I just went on a tangent, my bad. But you know what I'm saying?
And if you ever heard of what a minstrel show is, the minstrel show was a form of theater that surfaced in the 19th century, featuring skits of white performers in blackface makeup. These skits built on characters of African Americans that were interpreted with instrumental songs, ballads, and dances. The United States of America has always been good at turning fear into a show. Minstrel performances weren't just entertainment, they were exaggerated theatrical ways of packaging anxiety and violence, so audience knew when to laugh, when to look away, and when not to intervene. Fear became something you watched instead of something you confronted.
You leave that boy alone, you hear me? And then when I shouted, they looked at me like I was the crazy one. Dogs.
That's why It's favorite form is a clown, because he loves putting on a show. He doesn't invent fear, he stages it. He turns terror into performance, something legible, something repeatable, something you're meant to look at instead of question. And Welcome to Derry understands that, because this show isn't about a monster appearing, it's about a town that already knows exactly where fear belongs. Pennywise feeds on fear, but racism decides where that fear goes. It's safe to say that fear is taught through the lens of racism and self-preservation. The quickest depiction would be Teddy Urich's character. He's shaken up about the disappearance of his friend, and he asks his father a simple question.
Do you think somebody could kidnap a kid and keep him underground?
Your grandparents escaped Buchenwald. Their entire families murdered. The skin of Jewish prisoners used for lampshades. We are Jews, Theodore. We know better than anyone the real horrors of this world.
It shook him so hard that it gave him his first fear that Pennywise could take advantage of. As we know, Pennywise doesn't even appear the same to everyone. To the Native Americans, he appears as white settlers, because that's the fear that destroyed the world. Ronnie Grogan's nightmare is portrayed through her mother's death, something the show states happening during childbirth. And while the show never states this outright, it echoes a real documented fear.
Black women die 4 times the rate of white women, and that often those causes are preventable.
Black women historically receiving inadequate medical care, especially during childbirth. Whether intentional or not, the fear still resonates for this person.
Is that still like a common thing? Is that still a common thing in America where basically Black women are not given that much adequate care, or is it because of the situations with them being in ghettos and not really having to afford care? Because of course, America does not have a medical aid system. They have none of that. You have to have money to actually go to the hospital. So is it because of is it because of money, or is it because of race, right? But I think it's the money, right? Or it could be a mix of both, but I do believe it's the money when it comes to that case.
Let's talk about fear being reassigned. When the white children disappear in the movie theater, the town starts to panic. That initial panic was labeled about justice, but in actuality, it's about control. The mayor is so adamant about ending the case that when the sheriff says there's laws that you have to follow in America, the mayor just responds with this.
You think I'm not doing everything I can to place him there that night? I've got no evidence, and he's got an alibi. This is America.
This ain't America. This is Derry.
That reassurance comes in the form of Ronnie Grogan's father, Hank, a black man arrested with little to no evidence, a clean ending to a messy problem. The character Rich said something that sadly made me chuckle.
This is America. You can't just throw people in jail for nothing.
We talking about the same country?
It's painfully hilarious because the show knows exactly how untrue that is, especially in the 1960s. This is where racism reveals itself as fear of the unknown disguised as common sense. The town doesn't just reject fear, it rejects uncertainty. Anything that can't be neatly explained gets labeled as irrational, exaggerated, or impossible. Phil is one of the few characters smart enough to speculate early that the army isn't just looking for a criminal at all, but something closer to an alien or unknown entity.
Maybe that's what's going on over that airbase. Maybe they've got one of these things like on ice that they're experimenting with.
You've been sitting too close to the TV again, haven't you?
And that's exactly why his fear isn't taken seriously. His theory destabilizes reality and threatens the narrative that the town needs to function. Trust me when I say this, it's no coincidence that once his fear is confirmed, once the unknown stops being a hypothetical, that's when Pennywise comes for him.
See, I told you there was weird shit going on over at that airbase. They made a giant fucking nude, baby!
This isn't a failure of justice. It's more of a success of fear management working. I always wondered, even if the kids had the clearest picture of Pennywise imaginable, the cops still wouldn't believe them, because a faceless monster destabilizes reality. You can't prosecute it, you can't arrest it, and you definitely can't wrap a narrative around it. But a black man in a racially divided America, that's too easy for them. Derry doesn't confront Pennywise because it doesn't have to. Racism gives the town a simpler explanation for the violence. Once that keeps power intact, the guilt is outsourced. Most of us think living without fear sounds like freedom. Fear is usually framed as weakness, something to overcome, something that holds you back. But fear is the actual one of the most important evolutionary tools humans have. Fear keeps our heart pumping faster when you're in danger. It sharpens your senses. Goosebumps literally exist to make us look bigger to predators. Fear is survival. It's also information. So when someone doesn't feel fear, that doesn't make them superhuman, it makes them dangerous, especially to authority. And Welcome to Derry understands that. Leroy Hanlon is one of the most interesting characters to me because of his lack of fear, but it's also the source of so much of his pain.
It's like the part of your brain that's supposed to be afraid, it's not even there. So you are not the kind of fella I'm likely to fuck with.
Leroy is also a bootlicker, and in Black America, that's not a neutral label.
So you're sucking up already, huh?
It raises a question that has existed forever.
How can he be fearless but be a bootlicker? That's such a contradiction, isn't it? Right? Because mostly bootlickers do that because they are scared of repercussions. They're scared of not gaining benefits, and they're scared of many things, right? But now you're trying to tell me that this character basically doesn't have fear, which is like very contradictory. Okay, I might actually watch this. I might actually watch the series. Is it a series or a movie? I can't remember, I'll be honest with you. That's how much I was like, who cares about this?
You serve a country that hates you.
Airman Masters. Now, I am your superior commissioned officer, so I expect to be accorded the respect of said rank. Do I make myself clear?
I'll get you next time, brother.
a country that sees you as disposable.
This is a security issue. What is this? The man that got arrested at the movie
A
theater?
black man who's arrested for a murder he swears he didn't commit.
Don't be looking for trouble.
There's gonna be trouble anywhere we go. That's the country you swore your life to defend.
Even today, black police officers and soldiers wrestle with this. Are you serving the people or just the system? Every soldier has thought about this at some point. Leroy is brought in because he has a damaged amygdala, the part of your brain that is responsible for fear. Instead of that freeing him, it marks him. He's jumped by his own troop, later revealed to be a test orchestrated by General Shaw.
And you passed.
I think I heard enough.
Not only was Leroy lied to, he was lied to twice. And that second lie, his trust in the government, cost him his best friend. The question isn't about if Leroy is brave, it's about if he can be controlled. That's why I love when Dick Halloran calls him out.
It's about doing what's right.
Oh, get the fuck out of here with that. You know what Shaw's calling needs his boot shined, you fucking bootlicker.
You don't talk to me like that. I'm your superior officer.
I don't give a fuck!
It's the first time someone actually names what's happening to him. And eventually, Leroy arc shifts. When the duty starts destroying his family, especially affecting his son, he finally breaks from authority. In my eyes, fearlessness stops being something that the system exploits, and becomes something that he reclaims for himself. Then there's Dick Halloran, the complete opposite side of the coin. If Leroy is exploited for his lack of fear, Dick is exploited for his awareness. The army uses him as a tool, not by choice, but by force. And this is something I didn't even realize at first, but it makes his story so much darker. While the details of Dick Halloran's capture by the army aren't ever revealed in It Welcome to Derry, clearly, Chris Chalk and the writers had a rough backstory in mind. In this interview, Chalk went to state, apparently the military discovered Halloran's abilities after he won too much in a card game, and was then locked up and essentially forced into service. That context changes everything. Halloran's ability, The Shining, lets him sense the truth of Derry. He knows something is wrong, he feels it everywhere, but that knowledge never protects him. I mean, if anything, it nearly destroys him. One of the most traumatic scenes is when Pennywise unlocks his mental lockbox, essentially a psychic barrier Halloran built to survive. Once that lockbox is open, he's flooded with voices, visions, and the dead, and he can't shut it off. At the burning of the black spot, he's forced to confront Hank Grogan, someone he wants nothing to do with.
Please. I'm gonna need this shit right now.
And has to speak to a dead spirit in order to save Ronnie. The experience nearly drives him insane, and he's pushed to the edge of suicide.
You got my mind all fucked up. Sorry, I need you to listen to me. And now? There ain't no other way, brother.
Halloran's character is never positioned as someone meant to end the horror, or Pennywise, only to warn and to guide. His powers become responsibility and not agency. In Derry, black characters aren't allowed to be ignorant or safe. They're expected to carry knowledge so that the town doesn't have to.
Yo, the writing already sounds amazing. If I didn't tell you this, right, I'm gonna say it again, right? This channel is about spoilers. There's gonna be spoilers every single time. You know what? In fact, I might even put a spoiler warning in all of my titles just to be like spoiler, right? But yeah, interesting.
I felt this heavily in the ending of Derry, as the Hanlons are basically picked as the protectors of knowledge for this cursed town. Rose packs her bags and leaves after the death of Taniel, when I think both sides deserve a chance to leave. Let's talk about the lie of the greater good. A reoccurring tactic in Welcome to Derry is the partial truth. Leroy and Mrs. Hanlon are never fully informed. They're just told enough to keep going. Mrs. Hanlon is especially tragic. She's an activist. She's also the reason her family had to leave their old home.
And please don't bring up Shreveport like we didn't move here for you.
So that brick through our car window, was that for me too, Shaw?
So it's my fault now?
I'm not the one that's causing trouble. I'm not the one that's making signs. I'm not the one that's sitting in places where I'm not wanted.
She has a deep disdain for racism, so when she sees Hank Grogan, a helpless black man facing the system, she does everything in her power to help him. And that's exactly how she's manipulated. Her persistence, fueled by good intention and white lies, indirectly leads to the deaths at the black spot. Ingrid Kirsch uses her compassion as a weapon. Hank Grogan is one of the most hated characters in the show, mostly because people think he doesn't care about his daughter, who's also outside every day risking her life to free him. But context matters. This is 1962, less than a decade after Emmett Till was murdered because of a white woman's lie. Hank wasn't at the movie theater, but telling the truth gives him two bad endings either way. Love is love, sure, but having an affair with a married white woman at this time is a death sentence, and that woman he trusted wasn't just anyone, she was Periwinkle, Ingrid Kirsch, the daughter of Bob Gray. She manipulates everyone, Hank, Mrs. Hanlon, Lily, the town, all to see if something, anything resembling her father will appear. She tips off the white mob knowing that the fear and pain will attract Pennywise, disposable black lives traded for white closure. After the gruesome deaths at the black spot, the town later calls it an electrical fire and moves on. In Derry, knowing someone also replaces accountability.
With the candlestick. Little Philly Mulkin went to school with my boy. Show some respect.
Apparently, the butcher, Mr. Hirsch, says he knows everyone, which absolves him from being racist, even though he was there at the black spot when it was burning down. Knowing someone shields you from consequences.
You should be ashamed. Go home.
But only if you're white. The racist logic in Derry peaks with the character General Shaw. Shaw is saved by Rose, a Native American woman. This is someone who entrusted him with sacred knowledge, her culture, and was also her compassion that preserved his life. He paints himself as a man doing honest work for the American people.
I know it might not mean much coming from a man in my position, but you can trust me.
But only the kind of Americans who look like him, or fits in his image.
Americans are at each other's throats, and it's only getting worse. Anti-nuke crazies, the women's movement, race riots.
And how does he repay her? By lying, exploiting, and then ultimately killing her nephew. He doesn't want to destroy Pennywise, he wants to manage him. A lot of racism isn't about danger, it's about relative position.
Not even that though. I always found it weird why people that's in the same country would basically, you know, I know it's now as I've grown older, I understand why it happens, but I've always, as a kid, I was like, you're like in the same country, shouldn't you be like trying to find a way to make yourselves better? Because there's other countries, and those other countries are definitely trying to find ways to make themselves better. So if the other team is actively trying to get better, why are you trying to destroy your key players, right? Why are you trying to suppress your players? But now as I've grown older and I understand more about politics, I understand how government works. Yeah, bro. Some things I'm not happy with, and some things I just like, I understand what's happening, but you know what I'm saying? Just because you understand what's happening doesn't mean you should be happy or you should accept it. Let me say that. Let me not sound like a raccoon for 5 minutes. But you hear what I'm saying? So you can understand something, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't act on it. You know what I'm saying? You should just, it doesn't mean you should keep quiet and act like, oh, I don't know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? If you see if there's a problem and you feel as if you should fix it, then fix it. It's my opinion.
Fear that someone else gaining means you're losing. Fear that equality feels like displacement. Fear that normal won't center around you anymore. To this lunatic, Pennywise isn't chaos. He's a counter-revolution. His plan is so stupid it makes my head hurt. General Shaw believes that the American society is fracturing due to internal dissent, civil and women's rights movements, and nonconformity. He intends to unleash Pennywise across the United States to instill a mass anesthetic terror, forcing the population into compliance and order. Fear creates obedience. Obedience creates order, and order preserves a version of America that never had to change. Which is just pure madness, because how does no one else see this as treason baffles me.
You'd be surprised how much things a lot of people get away with, and it's just pure treasonous. Pure treasonous. Right? But they got away with it because they had connections or money or anything like that. And I'm not going to name names, but there's a lot. Even in like, you know what I'm saying? Just, there's a lot. There's a lot of people that because of their money and their influence, they can do some treasonous things and nothing will happen to them. But when us normal people who do something similar or even the same thing, it would be the highest form of treason, and we would be, you know what I'm saying? We would be. So, yeah, like Central C said, if you don't make money, you suffer. It's just how it is, bro. Not happy about it, but...
Welcome to Derry isn't asking whether fear is dangerous. It's asking who's allowed to feel it. Some characters get to panic, flee, and forget and move on, while other characters remember, endure, and stay. Pennywise feeds on fear, but Derry feeds on racism, fear of difference, fear of the unknown, and definitely the fear of who doesn't look like you. If you made it to the end of the video, I want to thank you for watching Media Munchies. Don't forget to leave a like.
That was a good video. That was a good video. Yeah, that was a good analogy of basically what's happening in that series. I didn't watch the series again. I didn't watch it. Am I going to watch it? Yeah, maybe. I'll be honest with you, right? This it really takes a lot for me to watch a series, bro. Cause what's this? I'm a engineering student, bro. So when I'm choosing my time, I have to choose it very carefully. And well, I don't know if I would watch this. I really don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm still not convinced that it is worth it. Just my opinion. I'm sorry. But what you think? So without further ado, thank you for watching the rest of the video. Thank you for chilling with your own. Comment, like, subscribe. Until next time, been the Lost Owen. We out.